The Italian Wine Podcast is the community-driven platform for Italian wine geeks around the world. Support the show by donating at italianwinepodcast.com. Donate €5 or more and we'll send you a copy of our latest book, My Italian Grape Geek Journal, absolutely free. To get your free copy of My Italian Grape Geek Journal, click support us at italianwinepodcast.com or wherever you get your pods. Grazie mille. Official media partner, the Italian Wine Podcast, is delighted to present a series of interviews and highlights from the 2023 Wine2wine Business Forum, featuring Italian wine producers and bringing together some of the most influential voices in the sector to discuss the hottest topics facing the industry today. Don't forget to tune in every Thursday at 3 p.m. or visit theitalianwinepodcast.com for more information.
Hi there. My name is Jeanette Servidio. I'm the general manager of Petra in Suvereto, which is on the coastal part of Tuscany. And I'm here together with Jessica van der Schee in order to introduce you a little bit more to the opportunities of Italian wine sales in Luxembourg. So I think it's very, very interesting considering this very small country, which has, for my opinion, also really great opportunities. Everybody is looking on the countries around Luxembourg, which are Belgium, Netherlands, France, Germany, forgetting that Luxembourg can be effectively a very good opportunity. So please, Jessica, introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. So I'm Jess van der Schee, and I am an American, but I've lived in Luxembourg the past 4 years. I'm a Wine and Spirit Education Trust certified educator, and I'm also an Italian wine ambassador. I run a WSET school at Bernard Massard, which is Luxembourg's largest privately owned winery, and they're also a large importer. And because I'm an Italian wine ambassador, I've gotten involved with sourcing of Italian wines. So the past year and a half, I've run some big tastings with the sales team, and we've significantly expanded our Italian wine list. So the data today comes from the Luxembourg statistics, but also Bernard Massard's specific sales data. I reached out to all of our competitors, but because we are a small country, nobody wanted to speak to me. So unfortunately, I only have my company's data, but we're one of the bigger players, so hopefully it will be interesting. I just want to set the scene a little bit about Luxembourg, because sometimes, people know it's in Europe, there's lots of castles, but they don't know much detail about it. So it is a very small country bordering Belgium, France, and Germany. It is 82 kilometers north to south and only 57 kilometers east to west. So you can cover it easily in a day. However...
By walking.
By walking. Yes. But it's very interesting because it tops the IMF's list of the highest GDP per capita, 135,600 per person. So it is very interesting for statistics. That number is slightly skewed because there's lots of cross-border workers, but it is a very affluent country. Capgemini's recent World Wealth Report estimated that 1 in 15 residents are millionaires, having $1 to $5 million in investable assets. So 1 in 15 people, like you're at the grocery store, and a significant amount of those people are probably millionaires. So that impacts the wines that we can buy in a supermarket. Total population is only 660,809, so very small. But there are these 200,000 cross-border workers who come into Luxembourg during the weekday. So traffic is not great in the weekdays going to and from the city, but it does increase in size significantly from cross-border workers. Another interesting part about Luxembourg is that 47.4% is foreign. So almost half of the country is not Luxembourgish, which is quite interesting also because I'm an expat in Luxembourg and I'm one of many. In terms of Italian links, Italy formed the first wave of immigration into Luxembourg. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a lot of opportunities to work in the steel industry, and Italy formed the first wave. So there are lots of Italian surnames and Italians, second, third generation in Luxembourg. So in terms of statistics, it represents the third largest segment of the population in Luxembourg, behind Portuguese and French citizens. But there are also the second generation who are Luxembourgish but of Italian origin. So there are lots of Italian restaurants, Italian shops, and Italian speaking. So we have a sales agent who just services the Italian market in Italian. In addition to the Europeans in Luxembourg, there's lots of, I would say, transient expats. My neighbors are largely Amazon and Ferrero employees. So I had a neighbor who came from the US to Amazon for 2 years, became very intrigued by European wine, and they were then moved to Singapore for Amazon and loaded thousands of bottles. They were saying, what do we buy? Because Amazon moved all their stuff to Singapore. So while they were in Luxembourg, they experienced and learned about European wines in a way they hadn't in the US. So it's an interesting place to be because people are exposed for a few years and then move on with increased knowledge of potentially Italian wines and other products. Another important part to understand about Luxembourg, if you're pitching your wines to a Luxembourg importer, is that Luxembourg does have a strong wine production industry. So this map is tilted on its side, but you can see the small picture. The wine production is on the Mosel. We call it the Moselle in Luxembourg, but it is an extension of the German Mosel River. So we all know great Rieslings from Germany. This just extends down through Luxembourg, 42 kilometers from, you see the map down here to the south, Schengen. So it's 42 kilometers, there's 340 producers making Luxembourg wine. 90% of the varieties planted are white grapes. So if you are making white wines and trying to pitch them to Luxembourg, that is more difficult because there's pretty high quality available of Riesling, Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris, for example. So it is hard. I pitched some very beautiful Alto Adige wines, Pinot Blanc, that would have to retail around 20 euros. And my boss said, we sometimes struggle to sell our best Pinot Blanc at 14 euros. We're not going to be able to sell Alto Adige Pinot Blanc for 20. So beautiful wine, but we're not going to import that. So it is a harder sell, especially depending on the price point, if you're competing with the grapes grown in Luxembourg.
Are you enjoying this podcast? There's so much more high-quality wine content available from Mama Jumbo Shrimp. Check out our new wine study maps, our books on Italian wine, including Italian Wine Unplugged, The Jumbo Shrimp Guide to Italian Wine, Sangiovese Lambrusco and Other Stories, and much, much more on our website, mamajumboshrimp.com. Now back to the show.
In terms of wine imported, the last year of statistics was 234,000 hectoliters of imported wines, and 52% of that was red and rosé. And that makes sense because we are producing lots of white wine. There's also 21% sparkling, which is interesting because a large proportion of Luxembourg's production is crémant, so sparkling traditional method. But French champagne is very, very popular in city restaurants. Also, these white wines, Burgundy is very popular. So still heavy reliance on French wines. But red is really the best opportunity for import. It's the most sought after import. In terms of individuals, the government statistics show that approximately 41 liters of wine is consumed each year by each person. And again, about 50% of that is foreign red and rosé wines. So again, opportunity for Italy. Foreign white and sparkling accounts for 30%, and my instinct is that is dominant by France. And then 21% is the local wine, crémant, Mousseau, and other local wines. So it's kind of 50-50 red and white, but that 50% red tends to be foreign imports. The palate of Luxembourg is interesting in the sense that they are very used to French wines. They have the legal language is French. There's a lot of synergies and travel between the country, and I think they're most comfortable drinking Bordeaux, Burgundy, and Provence rosé. So when I am pitching Italian wines, I have to be aware of that palate. For example, we had some beautiful Verdicchio. It was very strong in grapefruit flavor and fennel. It was herbal, it was typical Verdicchio, but the sales team said, we appreciate it is a nice wine. We don't know who to sell this to. It is not what Luxembourgish people are used to drinking. So at the moment, it is still very fruity and French dominant in terms of the flavors. But also big names do sell at premium prices. So Quintarelli Sassicaia, one of my wine students who's also a restaurant client of Bernard Massard, said he opened his restaurant, he had 3 bottles of Quintarelli Amarone, 3 bottles of Sassicaia. He thought nobody would buy them. All 6 bottles sold in the first week at very high restaurant markups. So he's like, okay, I need to get the bigger brand names at higher prices. Part of that, I think, is due to lack of familiarity with the non-brand names and non-famous grapes. And as an educator, I'm running master classes on native grapes, and I hope to slowly increase the knowledge. But at the moment, well, things that are familiar are what sells the most, which makes sense at the moment. From my company's data, it is clear that from the imported wines, so we make over 4 million bottles a year of crémant and still wines of Luxembourg wines, but so this is just the foreign wine sales. So this does not include Luxembourg wines. But there are 3 equal segments, which I thought was really interesting. So we're getting the same volume between 5 to 10 euros, 10 to 20 euros, and 50 euros and above. So there are, I would say, equal segments across different. So you have the buy the glass segment, the 5 to 10 euro, the restaurants get a large volume. You have the retail, more 10 to 20 of good quality, but you also have a strong sale of the 50 euro and over wines. So it's not just one or the other. We're getting a good coverage across the different segments. Of the government statistics in terms of volume of imported wine, Italy's wine market share is rising, and it is the biggest riser in the past year by 2% overall. It's jumped from 25,000 hectoliters imported to 31,000 hectoliters imported over the past year. And you can see that Spain and Germany have gone up a little bit, and Portugal, Belgium, and France have gone down. These statistics, though, are a little bit skewed because Belgium, we buy a lot of wines from Belgium that are not Belgian wines. So it tends to be that Belgium will import a lot of foreign wines, and then we will then import from Belgium to Luxembourg. So it could be that Italy has an even higher market share through Belgium because it's just logistically easier to buy wines that are already in Belgium because of the volumes in Luxembourg are smaller. So a different situation, we import from the Jackson family in the US, but we buy from their Belgian warehouse because it's easier to buy the quantities we need from a European warehouse. So these figures, when I saw these, I was Googling Belgian wine. I was thinking, wow, really, do we buy that much Belgian? But it's not actually Belgian wine, because that would be quite unusual. I mean, they do make wine, but I think not in the volumes that we are consuming here.
Effectively, I think it's a little bit unclear for me because I know that Belgium has quite high taxes for importation of wine. So how about taxes in Luxembourg?
I'm not aware. We get an export price from the winery, and that's what we pay. So I don't actually know more beyond that. It's just within Europe. I'm not sure there's a different arrangement, but the winery gives us an export price, and that's what ends up on the customs.
Okay. So maybe
it's better. I don't know.
Yes.
So we should go direct. In terms of my company's sales, from the year 2021 to 2022, there was a 19% increase in volume of Italian wine sales. And I arrived in that time period, and then they asked me, because I have more Italian knowledge, thanks to Vinitaly, they said, okay, let's help expand, because we're seeing this rise in interest in Italian wines. So this year last year we increased the portfolio, and this year we are now seeing a 32% increase from January through October based on the same period last year. So it is a small but growing market for us of importance. But as the statistics generally show, the largest volume sales are red wines, and in particular, we get the highest volumes at between this like maybe 8 to 15 euro retail price point. Sangiovese, the IGT is a big seller, Chianti Classico is a big seller, Primitivo, Barbera d'Alba, Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. These are wines that sell by the glass in restaurants that we get a lot of volume on. But we also do have prestigious Barolos, et cetera, that sell in the more premium market. So if you're looking for volume, it's really being able to pitch a wine that is a very good quality at an export price of 5, 6, 7 euros that can sell restaurant by the glass if you want the volume. And we have a dedicated Italian sales agent to service the Italian restaurants. He estimates that there is about 300 Italian restaurants in Luxembourg, and his business is just going to those restaurants in Italian, with mainly the Italian portfolio. And there's a few other things to note about Luxembourg. Because it's so small, the importers do expect exclusivity. It is not a legal contract. It is just a mutual understanding. But if my boss will see wines that we import somewhere else, he will then not reorder because there's this mutual understanding. Sometimes we've had wines that we import and then we see them at Italian shops in town that buy direct, and then he just gets mad and doesn't reorder because there's this discussion of we're representing you in Luxembourg. It's super, super small. So there tends to be, each importer then tends to have, or at least expect exclusivity. I think it is important to choose your importer. Some are Italian only, and that can be good because they have all the references. But then they tend to have more of a niche where other importers, like my company, will sell everything and then have a more complete portfolio for a restaurant. So it's important to make sure you have the right fit. You can change if it's not working. And we do see producers changing importers. Different companies will work differently in the market.
So what you say is also that if you choose an Italian importer, he is selling the wines, the focus is Italian restaurants and shops, and instead a larger distributor, importer is offering the wines all over the country in every kind of restaurant, right?
Yes, I guess it depends if you want to just focus the volume on Italian restaurants or whether you want to be part of a larger sales portfolio. Because my company sells Luxembourg wines, a lot of people want to put that on their wine list. So they will ask for the Luxembourg wines, and then the sales team says, hey, we have these French, we have these Italian. Do you want to have some diversity in your wine list? So I think it's good to see where if you're at one importer but you want to have more volumes, you could try a different approach. But I know Bella Vista is at an Italian-only importer, but one of our restaurant clients sells it by the glass, and it is doing well. So I think it just depends on how your relationships work.
Yes, and what you would like to obtain.
To achieve, yeah.
Because on the other hand, you told me this morning also that besides distributors, there is a huge sale through the supermarkets, which are buying by themselves. They are not going through an importer, right?
So that's my understanding, is that the largest volume sales in Luxembourg are from supermarkets, and the supermarkets buy direct from the winery. So they will buy our Luxembourg wines direct, but they won't buy our import portfolio. The biggest names in Luxembourg, the Luxembourg one is called Cactus, like the plant, but then we have Cora, which is I think French in Belgium, and Delhaize through the Netherlands. So they will source large volumes through their importers in their country of origin. And that does cause some problems because they often have very cheap pricing. So we have some supermarkets like Cora that will sell some of the prestige wines that we import at much cheaper prices that we're able to sell. So then we end up having difficult discussions with the producers saying, hey, we need to be able to sell your wines cheaper because the supermarket, or it just doesn't work. So there's a whole strategy. I mean, you'll probably get larger volume through the supermarket, but it could also impact how your wines are sold locally if we can't compete with the supermarket.
Yes, and also on the image of your winery if the prices are quite low. Okay, So a conclusion could be that there's a very high potential for Italian wines. People drink more and more Italian wines, also not only because of the large community of Italians in Luxembourg, but also because travel attitudes show that Italy is the fourth more important travel destination. So lifestyle, fashion, food, and wine obviously create curiosity, and people would be part of this. And so there's a good opportunity for Italian producers on the Luxembourg market. Small market, because if you think the population is like a city in Italy, including the workers which are coming in for the day, it's like Torino, one city in Italy for population, but nevertheless the volumes are very, very interesting because people have money to spend. Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think it's interesting. It is small, but it's interesting. I think to at least be in the market and to have exposure.
Wonderful. Good.
Thank you very much.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, Chin Chin.